I think obviously the operation was more than just a decapitation operation. It included taking down their air defenses, their ballistic missile launching capabilities, further degradation of their nuclear program, and the coup de grace of this, I guess, is the decapitation part of it. And yes, I think that's always an option. If you could take out the senior leadership of a foreign country, that can really knock out their ability to command, to communicate, to inspire their forces. And so I think it was a risk worth taking. The fact that not only taken out was Khamenei, but also the defense minister, the head of the IRGC, and Israel saying several dozen other senior commanders really could leave the state of Iran again, very destabilized, no clear chain of command, and chaotic actions. And we may be seeing some of that right now, that they don't yet know how to respond, which is why they are lashing out at several Arab countries through the use of drones, through the use of ballistic missiles.
Secretary Esper, let me ask you for your perspective on the timeline for what happens next here. And I imagine when you were in the Pentagon, there were scenario planning meetings in which you would have thought through what might happen if this were to come to pass, if the supreme leader were to die or be killed, and the nation were to be thrust in this kind of uncertainty. How do you see all of this playing out? How long do you think it's likely to take? And as you look to other capitals, other places in the Middle East being brought into this war, what does it tell you about the timeline?
Well, I think, first of all, at the operational level, we know that President Trump has said this could go on for several days. They've talked about a period of bombing and strikes with a pause to do BDA, which is battle damage assessment. That's where you look at what happened and did you hit the targets? Did you destroy them, or do you need to go back and double tap them? So I think that continues for a few days, but we will likely reach a point here fairly soon where the Iranians will have had so many ballistic missile launchers destroyed, missiles rendered incapacitated, that Israel and the United States will have free, unfettered ability to fly over Iran and strike any targets as they want. And I think that will come sooner rather than later. It appears some of that's happening now because the air defenses just don't seem to be capable. So I think we'll reach that in a period of days, which will render Iran relatively defenseless. Then the question will be, what else does Iran try and do? For example, activate their terror network around the world, to include here in the United States. I think the bigger question, though, is politically, is who is going to assume charge in the coming days. We know that Iran has appointed and it's constitutional, three persons to run the country in the interim. It's the head of the judiciary, the president, and a member of the Guardian Council. But the important thing is who will succeed ultimately Khamenei. Will it be a senior cleric that will preserve the theocracy? Will it be a senior military commander from the IRGC that will try and establish the military as the foremost power? Or will it be somewhere a civilian who's not a cleric, who is in the Iranian system more pragmatic? I think we need to see all that play out in the coming days. Right now, it seems like the clerics have the edge because the constitutional process is being followed. Then I think economically, we're all watching to see what they try and do with the Strait of Hormuz. Will they try and close it as a way to rattle oil markets, threaten their Arab neighbors and whatnot? And then lastly, diplomatically, it's interesting to see so many people sitting on the sidelines or not doing much. I mean, obviously, Russia and China have protested American actions. Some Europeans have been supportive. Others have remained quiet. So when I look at these next few days, I look at those four pillars of how this may go.
Mr. Secretary, I'm wondering what you know about this kind of caretaker appointee that they've named this morning, Alireza Arafi. It's not a name I'm familiar with. Do we know anything about his position? You mentioned possible successors. The Ayatollah had a son. That is not traditionally how that is done in Shia Islamic tradition. But it's unprecedented times. Could that be a possibility as well? And is there, I mean, you mentioned they're following the Constitution. Is that really a succession plan that you think is durable given all the other factors, or are you afraid that we could end up with a power vacuum in Tehran?
Yeah, very good question. So let's a little bit of history first. Of course, we know that Khamenei had identified a successor a couple years ago, and it was President Raisi, who was killed in early 2024 in a helicopter crash, obviously unexpectedly. And he never publicly named a successor after that, although he supposedly privately listed three people that would be considered successors. People had often spoken within the country about his son, but Khamenei did not want any type of hereditary leadership to resume. It would sound too much like the previous monarchy to the Iranian people. And of course, there's the grandson of the original, the first Ayatollah Khamenei, who is in the running as well. But we really don't know who these players are. And again, it will depend on who is exercising more power. The clerics have charge under the constitutional system. This will eventually go to the 88-member Assembly of Experts, all of whom are clerics and all of whom must follow or should follow the Constitution, which says that it must be a cleric who succeeds Khamenei. But again, I think it depends on how these different power centers play out and interact over the coming days.
We've also heard the name of former President Rouhani, who's the leader who negotiated the JCPOA with the Obama administration. That was very surprising to me. David, did you have
Yeah, I think I put him more in that third category of not necessarily strongly associated with the IRGC or the clerics, but somebody who is a politician who is maybe more pragmatic. Maybe he's a cleric, but not a senior cleric. So again, that's one of the nodes that we got to watch in terms of the power struggle internally.
We talk about Iranians following their constitution. I think there's a roiling debate here in the U.S. about did the president follow the Constitution or follow his obligations to tell Congress what he was doing, and indeed go to Congress for permission before doing this. And I'm curious how you think about that. We've seen that the Gang of Eight was briefed, I believe, by the Secretary of State, not the Secretary of Defense, on the night of the State of the Union. There are reports now there's going to be a wider briefing for lawmakers today on Capitol Hill. Did the president make a mistake? Did the administration make a mistake by not going to Congress in advance of these significant strikes?
No, I don't think so in this case. I mean, look, we all know the Iranian profile case very well. I've been being in D.C. in the mid-'90s. I've been following the Iranians and all the ups and downs and the pursuit of nuclear enrichment and their proxy terror network throughout the region. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill understand this regime very well. No surprises here. We do know that Marco Rubio was up testifying before Congress last week or the week before. Most likely he was asked about the regime. He did go to the Gang of Eight, which was a smart thing to do. During my time when we killed Soleimani, we did the same thing. I did the same thing, speaking to the Gang of Eight, but also the Armed Services Committee. So they're going through the right motions. I would want to obviously see more from the president and his cabinet coming out and speaking directly to the American people. I think that would help explain where this is going, the whys, the whats and hows and whens. And then obviously there will be congressional hearings. I went through the same thing after the Soleimani strikes, where the cabinet can get into more detailed classified discussions with the Congress concerning what they saw, what they believe to be the emerging threats, maybe the Iranian pursuit of their nuclear program. All these things will play out over time. But I think right now they're in good stead. The president certainly has the authority under Article 2 of the Constitution. And the question will be is how long does this drag on? And I think if it drags on, that's where more questions will be asked about coming to Congress, requesting authorization, implementation of the War Powers Act, which of course is contested by the executive. But all these things will play out. It depends on how long it lasts.
Mr. Secretary, when you were in the administration and you took action against Soleimani, there was some controversy about whether it was an extrajudicial killing, and one of the arguments the administration made at the time was an imminent threat argument. That's something we're hearing now from the president. I've got some sound from his speech last night or very early yesterday morning, depending how you want to look at it. I want you to listen to this.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
There is certainly, I think, a fairly easy imminent threat argument to be made about Iran's risk to U.S. installations in the region. But is there a legitimate argument that the imminent threat from Iran to the U.S. homeland was heightened in the last days or weeks?
Well, look, I think this is something that the cabinet, again, is going to have to go up to Congress in the coming weeks in a classified setting and explain what they saw and they'll answer these questions. I know during my tenure, we did see imminent threats. We knew that Soleimani was moving throughout the region and organizing his proxy forces to attack American facilities, multiple embassies, and we took the action, taking out what we saw as a uniformed military officer on an active battlefield. So that was eventually explained, and for the most members of Congress understood that. The intelligence was shared. So I think we'll go through that same process. But look, I think we need to look broader than that. In my mind, this is a preventive action in the midst of a strategic opportunity. Over the last couple of years, since the murder by Hamas of 1,200 Israelis in October 2023 has kicked off a series of things that has eventually resulted in the destruction of Hamas, the destruction of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. It's the reduction in power of Shia militia groups, attacks on the Houthis, and a little bit unexpectedly, of course, the overthrow of the Assad regime in Syria. The entire network of Iranian terror proxies has largely been dismantled. And then on top of that, with the 12-day war, we saw Iranian air defenses and missile capabilities and their nuclear programs set back as well. So here we are at a moment in time after 47 years of this terrorist state conducting these operations and causing instability and death throughout the Middle East. We find them on their knees and at the same time trying to rebuild their air defenses, trying to rebuild missile launch capabilities, trying to buy cruise missiles from China, advanced fighter jets from Russia, and restart their nuclear program. Yeah. Why wouldn't we take this opportunity once and for all to take down this regime and to free the Iranian people from this oppression? To me, it's a strategic opportunity. It would have been a mistake not to take it.